last time you were on this, I think that you had just published Refresh. Was that what had happened?
Yeah.
And tell me about all the
amazing.
things that have happened since then, because it's been a while now.
That's a lot of things that have happened since then.
Yeah, a lot of things have happened.
So we now have a course online that goes along with the Refresh program. So that's exciting for people that maybe bought that program and you want to have a little bit more support and guidance going through it. That's going to be available. We are launching our online platform for courses called the Live Abundantly University. And so that'll be live on April 1st. Super excited about that. You can find the Refresh program on that platform. And then I've released several of the feminine guided journals. So there's one for each season. So there's like, fall edition, winter, spring, and then we'll have the summer edition coming out in a couple months.
Nice.
And that's just to support women who are, we're out there trying to be successful in every arena of life, but somewhere along the way, we tap out of our femininity. So this is a daily way to support that part of yourself, while also just connecting with God. So those are out there on Amazon. I've been doing lots of training for aftercare providers that are serving victims of human trafficking. We've had some successful programs and curriculums that we've been using for the last several years. And so those are now available as people go through our training. Then I'm able to give them our program, our curriculum, our strategy that's been successful.
Yeah.
So we've been taking groups through that training. I'm always passionate about helping survivors. And, I've been working with teams to help. If there's a team that's trying to be successful and maybe they have some issues that are disrupting their ability to be successful, then I love coming in and just helping to bring that unity and that focus again. So I actually got to work with a team from Homeland Security, which was really cool.
Nice.
And got to train that team and hoping they're going to be really successful because they have a huge program that they're responsible for that would be very beneficial for us.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun. And I'm, hosting my groups that are helping women to reclaim their femininity. And those are in-person groups that I love hosting on a monthly basis.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a few things that I've been up to. I probably missed some stuff, but
Right. No, you've been doing a lot, and that's part of the reason that I wanted to talk to you again on this platform. And I know, like, everybody's going to say, or I have gotten people saying before, like, you only do stuff with your family. And, like, I've taken offers to do other people's podcasts and everything like that, but I can't physically care enough about what other people are doing the way that I care about what my family is doing.
Yeah.
And so any chance that I get to talk to you guys about what y'all are up to, I definitely want to talk to Kayla as she's doing all of her redefined stuff, because that's a totally brand new cool thing that has like an awesome vision to it. Like, I feel so passionate about what my family is passionate about, and I can't help that. So I'm going to keep talking to my family about this stuff because they're way cooler than the other people I talk to.
And his name is John C. Not today, Satan!
I want to get into some of the segments that I don't even know if that you've been watching the newer versions of this podcast or not, but that's totally fine if you haven't.
Cool.
There's a section that we're going to get into called Not Today, Satan. And the whole idea behind it is that every single week I'm trying to work on one specific part of my character and challenge other people to do the same.
Nice.
And so this week, it's kind of a weird one. Gentleness is what I'm trying to focus on.
Yeah.
And I want you to tell me a little bit of, obviously you might not have thought about this for this week specifically thus far, but maybe you can talk about something that has been developing as you've been doing a lot of new things, maybe some areas of growth that you've had to really challenge yourself with. I want to hear you talk about that. But first, I just wanted to take like a small second to talk about gentleness and why it's so freaking hard. Because you learn, especially as a man, it's more acceptable for you to learn this like quote unquote superpower of flipping the switch and hardening your heart whenever you want. And in life, things are going to happen to you. You're going to fail. You're going to face disappointment. You're going to do the wrong thing when you should have done the right thing. You're going to feel guilt. You're going to feel shame. You're going to feel betrayal. And when you feel all of these heavy feelings, there's a few different ways that you can handle it, right? First of all, you can dive headfirst into despair, right? Second, and the most healthy option is you can give it, right? You can give it to Christ. You can give it to the Lord. You can say, you know what? I was never meant to carry this. That's humility. When you just admit, this is too heavy for me, and I know that I probably deserve to feel what I'm feeling right now. So you take ownership, but you say, but I know that I can't handle it, and so I need help. You know, you cry out for the help of Christ. That's the healthiest way that you can handle heavy emotions.
Right.
But what most of us men learn to do is learn to flip the switch, to automatically harden your heart, to not care at a moment's notice. And you usually don't realize the habit that you've developed until another person becomes more emotionally in tune with you. Then they can tell you what just happened. Like a switch just flipped, and you went from being so gentle and caring and compassionate to stone cold in a second. And then, you know, I've had to start reflecting on all of those things and just be like, why do I flip the switch? When did I start making that a habit? And how do I get back to keeping my heart soft? Because a hard heart is not a strong heart. It's a guarded heart.
That's right.
Right? It's a defended heart, but it's not a strong heart. The strongest heart you can have is one that stays soft while being punished, while taking the blows and continuing to stay soft. That's Jesus. That's what makes him so strong and so impressive, is the fact that he kept his heart soft under constant attack. He never guarded himself. Right? So I want to hear you talk a little bit about that as well from a female perspective. And then also talk to me about a little bit of what God's been developing in you recently.
I think that gentleness is one of those fruits of the Spirit that I wasn't really sure how to embody myself. And a lot of that was because I was operating in masculine all the time.
Right.
And, you know, and that energy feels more like rushed, more focused on producing, you know, just get it done. And in that, it's gentleness isn't really what you're reaching for. You're looking for like fast pace, like, you know, just get the next thing taken care of. And so gentleness to me is the ability to slow yourself down and to get present, to understand what's happening right in front of you. And it's, you know, there's always an option to be harsh just to get through something so you can get to the next thing.
Right.
And that's a easy reach to just be harsh. And I remember my husband, when we were first dating, you know, he's very masculine, and he would just be like, you know, move on and like, let's get it done. And I would be like, be sweet with me. And he would just be like, oh my gosh. And it would melt him. He didn't know what to do with be sweet. And now it's just kind of like a funny phrase we use. But when I think about what the experience of gentleness really is for me, it is that I understand the value of what I'm handling.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to handle it with care.
Yeah.
That to me is the definition of embodying gentleness.
Right.
And it's just like, you know, how we would handle a newborn baby is not the same as, you know, how we would handle a 16-year-old boy. You know, it's very different. And so there are certain things that require gentleness.
Yeah.
And I think if someone just lives in gentleness all the time and they don't access that, you know, that power of like, you know, I can also stand up when things are unjust. And that's what I see Jesus doing.
Yeah.
He was gentle with those that needed gentleness, and he was firm with those that needed him to be firm. And so I think that you don't have to get rid of gentleness to embrace when it's time to be, you know, to stand your ground on something. But it's what you're handling that I think determines which one you want to grab for.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's more about the value that you assign to something, and feeling a personal responsibility to handle that value in a specific way. I really like that. That's really, really cool. So what has God been working with you through? Because you faced a lot of new challenges recently. There's been a lot of risk that you've had to take, risk of putting yourself out there and trying something and
Yes.
risking failure, risking disappointment, risking a whole bunch of things. And a lot of times that can bring certain characteristics to the forefront that you're like, wow, I need to tackle this.
Yeah.
Has there been a situation like that for you recently?
I probably have a couple that are just floating to the top right now. The first was when I was going to work with a specific team, and they were having a lot of challenges. And I'm hearing, from the leadership, these are some of the things we want you to focus on as you come in to work with this team. And I'm like, okay, that sounds great. And then I would get another call, and I was like, okay, it's a little bit more intense than I realized. Right. And I just kind of said out loud, well, I can't make it worse. And then after day one, I was like, I think I did make it worse. And so that was kind of what I was getting my courage from, is going, well, they seem pretty messed up, so I don't think I can make it any worse than it is. And then, when everything gets surfaced, it gets messier before it gets better.
Right.
And so day one, I was like, well, that got real messy. And, I don't know if I'm going to get fired from this, after day one or what's going to happen. And it ended up being incredible results. That team came together and they accomplished more than I could have imagined in just 3 days.
Yeah.
And so it was really powerful. But that's one thing that I would just say, is that sometimes you may feel like, I don't have what it takes, to manage this, or this is a lot bigger than what my vision board looked like when I was saying, oh, I want to help teams, and then you get opportunities that are like, you feel like they're way out of your league.
Right. And
so for me, it was just mustering up enough courage to go, well, I don't think I can make it worse.
There you go.
They obviously need help. And so that's my heart. Mm-hmm. And the cool thing is, as I was going to serve this team, I felt like God gave me the reminder of when Jesus was sending out his disciples. And he gave them the instructions that if someone invites you in and they welcome you, then bring your peace and leave it with them.
Nice.
And if they don't, then you can just wipe the dust off your feet and move on down the road.
Yeah.
And because this was an invitation, I felt like it didn't matter what was happening in the room. I was bringing peace because I was invited in, and that's what I had to offer. And that's what they needed, was peace.
Yeah.
And that peace will remain long after I'm gone. And so that was really encouraging too, because no matter how upset they were with each other, no matter what dynamics were coming out, I never lost my peace.
Yeah.
And that was pretty powerful to experience that.
Yeah.
The second thing I would say right now that has really been powerful for me is thinking about, I have such a value for excellence. I don't want to do anything that I don't feel like is excellent.
Right.
And that's why it takes me a long time sometimes to publish things because I want to keep making it better.
Of course.
And finally, they just have to grab it from my death grip and say, we're publishing. Because I just want to give people resources that are impactful for their lives.
Yeah.
And so anyhow, last week, actually, I had this thought drop in me that we cannot cultivate excellence from a mindset of survival.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about any time we drop into that survival mindset, and that's where, we just feel like I'm insecure, about something, to the point that I feel like I need to protect myself. I'm, fear kind of takes the lead. When we operate in that brain, that part of us, we cannot produce anything with excellence, because we will limit what we think we're capable of.
Yeah. From
that limited mindset. And so I've just been like, if I want to cultivate excellence in everything I do, then I have to get rid of any sort of that survival mindset.
Yeah.
Which is, again, it's a choice. I'm either going to operate in fear or in love.
Right.
Those are the two options. Anything that's motivated by fear is survival brain.
Yeah.
Anything motivated by love is from the spirit. And
you can't do both at the same time.
You cannot. You have to pick one or the other.
Yeah.
And so to cultivate excellence in everything I do, I have to operate from, I'm fully loved, I'm operating from a place of love. I am wanting to offer that to other people because of love.
Yeah.
And that will produce excellence.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the ways in which you can always tell when somebody has gone from that new believer mindset of being an orphan taken off the street, which we all were, to finally becoming a son or a daughter. And there's a ownership and a responsibility that comes with that when you realize I've been given something and it's my duty to multiply it now, because that's what we're meant to do, right? But part of that is also knowing that because you represent your Father, there is a responsibility that comes along with that, but there's also an empowerment and a boldness that comes along with that. You know, those like those small town families that basically run the whole town. Yeah. The kid from that family, now they're probably usually straight-laced. They're usually not a punk. Sometimes they can be a punk, like in every Western ever. But usually they're going to be fairly straight-laced, but they're also going to know, hey, I own this town. Yeah. Like this is my responsibility to keep up these relationships that my family has had, to keep pouring into this town. But they're going to walk around like they own the place. Yeah. And it's very similar to being a part of the royal family that Christ ushered us into. We have the responsibility to represent him well because we carry the namesake Christ. And that's actually what I talked about last week when I talked about honor. Is part of that is, hey, your namesake in Christian is Christ. Yeah. So everything you do is a reflection on his name. So then, I talked about the responsibility, but the empowerment, to be able to say, I'm going to take this on without fear, right? And I'm going to do Christ proud. And if I mess up, I'm going to mess up, like you said, with peace. I'm never going to get out of that peace way of operating, because then if I'm in peace, I'm able to love people well. And no matter how I might mess things up practically or whatever, it doesn't matter, right? If I'm in peace and I'm loving people, I'm never going to do the name of Christ ill. So I think that's fantastic. We're going to get into talking about, we already talked about one of the topics, but there's another topic that's been super relevant that I want to talk to you about real quick. So recently, I don't know if you've been keeping up with all of the Nickelodeon stuff.
I have not.
Okay,
Get me up to speed.
There was a whole documentary, like a whole docuseries basically, that recently came out where a lot of these child stars that worked on Nickelodeon sets have come out and talked about some things that were happening, some discrimination, some abuse, a lot of crazy things. And I'm only like a couple episodes in, but I've noticed some themes. So, for example, Drake Bell. Do you remember the show Drake and Josh? I would watch it all the time.
Yeah.
Loved that show. There was a coach, I believe, like a talent coach that worked on all the Nickelodeon sets that sexually assaulted Drake Bell. And, Drake himself actually faced some accusations a few years ago. I think that, he had to take a guilty plea, but as he's come out and been able to explain a lot of that stuff, I think everybody could kind of tell there wasn't really anything going on with that. But this stuff, he came on, I forgot which episode it was, and basically said like, yeah, this guy, he was a trusted, basically member of my family. I was around him every single day. I would spend weekends at his house, all sorts of things. And obviously, it comes out later that all of this stuff was going on. And a lot of other child stars had their stories too. But my whole thought throughout watching all of this is, what is wrong with the parents, right? Because not only Drake was spending weekends at this guy's house after his father had basically told his mother when they separated, hey, keep Drake away from this guy.
Wow.
Right? Because he had that instinct about him, like, hey, you cannot. And this guy was, he was homosexual, and he was like open about that. And so his mom was just saying, oh, you're just being homophobic. You're just not being accepting of this man. Like, you need to be more trusting. So the mom allowed Drake to spend these weekends at his house. And eventually I can only imagine how she felt when she found out that everything happened.
I can't either.
But there was other stories of a woman who was out of the blue. Her daughter just received a nude photo from one of the grown men working on set. And there were some other stories as well. And then this is unrelated, but P. Diddy just got raided full on. Yeah. And all of these clips are coming up from people talking about, their experiences with the parties at his houses and everything like that. And Usher I forget what year this interview was from, but he said that he was staying there when he was 13 and that he saw some things. And I just can't imagine as a parent knowing what Hollywood is, because this is part of what Hollywood's being known for now. It's like the predator capital of America at this point. That's the narrative now about Hollywood. So knowing this, how on earth do you allow your children to make these kinds of decisions and do these sort of things? I don't understand where parenting is in America now. So I want to get your opinion on that, because obviously I had a pretty great mom. So I want to know what you think about that.
I will say parenting is not a part-time job. It is a full-time job, and it is a 24/7 job, and you do not get evenings and weekends and holidays off. Like, it never stops. And I feel like, you know, the responsibility of another person who is vulnerable, who doesn't have their own, you know, they have their own will, but it's like their personhood doesn't have free agency yet in so many ways. And so we have a huge responsibility until the time comes when it's time to, you know, stagger that off.
Yeah.
And I just know as a mom, the worst thing to live with is regret.
Right.
I would much rather be, you know, proactive than reactive.
Yeah.
I would much rather have a plan and a strategy than to find out later that, you know, under my watch, something horrific had happened.
Right.
Those are the kind of things that I just feel like we have this this push right now, and we have for a long time, on moms to, you know, early detachment from the kids, and you know, and let's put them in preschool as early as possible. And there's just research that shows that first 3 years, the child they have to be attached and bonding with the mother, because that's how they develop healthy attachment styles.
Yeah.
Okay. So when we have, as a society, pushed that out and made the norm, you know, no, they have to be socialized. We can't keep them at home too long. You know, don't let them get too attached to the mom, or they're going to be socially awkward. And it's actually, that's what creates stability for a child, to have their own agency, to feel their worth and their value going out into the world. And so I just think there's some major things that we have accepted that are counter to reality, honestly. So then I look at, I mean, you know, because I'm your mom, there are things that I grossly missed with y'all being raised. And we have had to go back and do a lot of, you know, me ownership of saying, this is where I messed up.
Well, we were pretty sneaky too.
You know,
so.
Well, every kid is. I was too. But, you know, there are things that I missed that were damaging to both of y'all. And I was there, you know, I was engaged. And so I feel like there is a mindset of a predator. The mindset of a predator requires access first. So they know what they're doing. They're strategic because there is a supply they are looking for.
Right.
So we have to realize that and not just blindly put our kids into context where we're giving up our role in their life to someone else. And if I have a check in my spirit about somebody, I am denying access. Yeah. Like right off the bat, because I'm not going to leave my kids in a situation that I'm going to then have regret over. Yeah.
I remember there were very few people whose houses you would let us go over to. You were very accepting of allowing like our friends to come over to our house, but like very few times would I be like, hey, can I go over to this person's house without you saying no? I need to like get to know them and their parents first and all that. So there was like a vetting process set up that I feel like a lot of parents just don't even have.
Yeah. And that is our role. We have that responsibility. We have that right. And I, you know, my mom, one of my favorite quotes was, parenting is not a popularity contest.
Right.
And she said that to us all the time. She didn't care if we liked what she was doing or not. She had a job to do, and she was going to do it to the best of her ability. Yeah. And I feel like as parents, for some reason, we have given up our own power,
Right.
and
Yeah.
role. And we don't have to, because
Yeah, that's
that
right.
was our God-given responsibility. And there's nothing that has more consequence than what happens to our kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
That to me is our number one role in life,
Yeah.
is raising our kids well.
Right.
So this Hollywood thing, it breaks my heart, because there are kids that are talented. They have dreams and aspirations. Parents want to support that. They don't want to be the one that held them back from becoming the next whatever, but at the same time, don't give up your role.
Yeah.
Do not give that up to anyone for any reason. And you better vet these people, because they know how to play the part and look
Yeah.
a certain way. So you just keep digging. I don't accept anything at face value. I just don't. And not when it comes to my kids.
Yeah. And a lot of people, obviously it's pretty clear in my generation, like the percentage of kids that have, oh, you're good. Let me guess, it's a prayer alarm. Yep, I knew it was. She's got so many prayer alarms. It's amazing. Is that like a woman of God hack to have prayer alarms?
I don't just tell people I'll pray for you and then I forget. So I set alarms. And so if I say I'm going to pray for you, there will be alarms with your name on it to remind me to actually pray for you.
That's awesome. Hey,
yeah.
Christian women, take notes. Prayer alarms, it's a hack, okay?
It's a good thing.
I'm going to forget. So I just I have to do the method where I just pray for the person right then and there, because if not, I'm not going to do it. Mm-hmm. I got other stuff to think about.
That's another good option.
But anyway, so my generation, like highest percentage of LGBTQ plus A, whatever alphabet they claim, ever, and it's only rising. My generation also, earlier and earlier being exposed to more and more sexualized content and experiences. And a lot of people just associate that to, the culture movements and the social movements and everything like that, which I think has a little bit of traction there. I think there's something to that. But I think most of it is just the fact that my generation didn't have parents.
Yeah.
It was probably the most fatherless and motherless generation ever. Mm-hmm. So what do you expect when you don't have parents? There's like a hierarchy of influences in all of our lives, right? Church is actually one of them. The family is one of them. And I think school is right outside of that bubble where it's like the primary influences on a person's life. Okay. But the most important is the family. Yeah. And so something is going to fill that slot when you take it out. Mm-hmm. It might be school. It might be people in the neighborhood. It's going to be digital, though. Yeah. In all likelihood.
For sure.
And then you have no control or understanding of what your child is being influenced by or what the repercussions of that are. And so, I always say that I was spoiled as a kid, not because we were rich, because we certainly weren't. We were like a pastor family, right? But because I just had two parents. That's what being spoiled is in my generation. The amount of kids that I know that had two parents all the way through high school is next to none. And the ones that did, they had very clear vision for their lives. They knew exactly what they wanted to do. Not to say that they did everything perfectly, but they're very successful. Mm-hmm. And they did things very well. They're honorable people with good reputations, right? They mess up, but not in ways that ruin the trajectory of their lives. People without one or two parents mess up in ways that ruin the trajectory of their lives because they haven't had the value assigned to their life that somebody with parents would. See, parents basically say, hey, don't do this, be here at this time, all of that stuff. And I'm telling you to do these things because I value your life and you should too. Mm-hmm. When there's not a parent telling you to do that, you are reckless with your own life. So I think, a lot of this, it's easy to blame, certain political movements or certain cultural movements and all of this stuff. And yeah, sure, absolutely. But I doubt any of those would have any real traction if parents were to actually parent their children. Mm-hmm. So again, just want to honor you with that I feel very spoiled and lucky that I had two parents that actually cared about me and loved me and raised me. And yeah, sure, they were separated for a little bit of high school, but I hung out with Dad every other weekend. You never tried to keep me from hanging out with Dad. You guys were always cordial and worked things out. And I was able to have a good relationship with both of you. And I received the love and discipline and correction that I needed. And I can't believe the percentage of kids in my generation that didn't. And I'm surprised we're not in a worse place than we are. So anyways, that's just our 2 cents for the day. We're going to move along to something a little bit more fun. Let's do this.
All right.
So there is a segment of this show called Bonkers, where we basically react to some of the stuff that's going on the internet and the world, and it's always freaking bonkers. So let's do this.
Take a look at what they're doing to your Christians. I'm telling you this because there's kind of no more inoffensive and peaceful group in the world than the Christians. In fact, there isn't. Their religion tells them, commands them to turn the other cheek and to put the concerns of others above their own concerns. So if you have a problem with those precepts, explain it to me. Speak slowly so I can understand. I think every person in this room, regardless of your faith, can agree, yeah, I'm for that. I wish I was more like that. That's good. We need more of those people in society. Serve others for the sake of service. People who pray for their enemies. Who does that? Who would pray for an enemy? No one, except the Christians, and they do. They're commanded to. So if you're hassling that group, maybe you've got another agenda that we should be concerned about, even if we're not in that group. If we burn 90 of their churches to the ground, burning churches, if you're on the side of burning churches, let me just say, I don't need any other facts of the case. You're on the wrong side.
Pretty cool, right?
Yeah, that was really good.
And, Tucker Carlson, he's a pretty controversial figure for whatever reason, because, he interviews and talks to people from both sides, and he's actually fairly cordial with everybody. But that was like, okay, that was something that I've been trying to articulate for so long and haven't found the words, and he just nailed it.
He killed it. That was awesome.
Yeah, I've never really understood Christian persecution, and I think it's because you can date this all the way back to the Romans, right? We were there in Rome talking to this guy about Christian persecution and sending people to the Colosseums, and he was like, they didn't like that Christians didn't want them doing their orgies.
Yeah.
That was what it was.
Yeah.
When a Christian calls out evil and sin and all of these things, it hits a little bit different, especially when they're coming from a genuine place of love. It touches a deep part in your heart that if you are opposed to light and you're living in darkness and you don't want anything to do with God, it irks you in a way that you can't even understand or explain. I feel like Christian conviction just hits very different because it very well could have been Islam, because they have the same rule in their book. Like, no, you're not supposed to be having orgies and men aren't supposed to be marrying men, women aren't supposed to be marrying women. It's the same set of rules, but for some reason they don't catch as much flack. I think it's because whenever they state their case, it doesn't really hit in the same way. And I think that that's kind of proof that, hey, if Jesus is the one that you're hassling, maybe it's because he's the one that had a point and some actual credibility.
Yeah, I think you and Tucker said it really, really well. I don't think I have anything brilliant to add to that. It's just true, and I've never thought about it the way that he presented it. That it truly is a belief that is marked by humility and service and love and forgiveness and peace, and those are the tenets that we strive for, and I do feel like there's such a targeted agenda against the church and against Christianity, and you can see that from the moment that Christ was born.
Yeah.
Immediately there was an assault on every single baby to try to get rid of him.
Wow, yeah.
So it's not, and he was an infant.
Yeah.
The most innocent, and yet there was already an assault. And so it's much bigger than what we see playing out in the worldly realm. It is definitely a spiritual battle.
Yeah.
And so that's why the target is on Christianity.
Yeah.
It's because this is an ancient war.
Yeah. That's awesome. Very good. Let's get to a little more lighthearted one.
Here, right here. All your needs will be met.
I'm hungry.
In a minute!
When I saw this, I was like, oh my.
Yeah, that is definitely one of your kind of humor videos.
Single Christian TikTok and single Christian Instagram is the most hilarious thing on the planet. Like, if you don't have that in your algorithm, you're missing out. It's so freaking funny.
I'll need to add that just for my own, comic relief.
Yep. What do you think about? Do you see that in a lot of like single Christian women? I mean, men too, clearly.
I see it more in Christian women than I do in men.
Why is that? Why is that?
Because we are the relational component.
Wow, yeah.
So, men are created. Again, they're the work component. They're the achiever, the doer, the provider, all of that. And we are the relational being. And so I think that's why it is such a God-given desire in the heart of women to, and we were the answer to aloneness.
Wow. Oh, women never had to be alone.
No.
Y'all have never been alone.
Never.
Well, no wonder. I got no clue how to do it.
It's not in us. We weren't created for that dynamic.
Wow.
And so even in, cultures where women are, it's more arranged marriages and things like that. And if they lose a husband, there's a community that just surrounds immediately. They know how to do that really well because of the importance of not leaving women uncovered, uncared for, and this isn't to go, I mean, my gosh, I can just already feel people hating me because I said that, because of feminism and
cry about it
and all the things. But the reality is, the way that we were designed was we were brought into a context where man already existed.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Alrighty. Shoot. let's go on to the next one.
I am a 40-year-old transgender lesbian. I dare you to try and stop me from going into a women's bathroom. This is a call to action. You need to arm up. Plain and simple. The time to act is now. I do not fear Christians. I do not fear conservatives. I do not fear evangelicals. And I do not fear Republicans. You're going to know what fear actually feels like. There are lots of people like me who are not afraid to die. You've been warned.
Can I speak on this first?
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out the beginning description.
Yeah.
Like
you could have just stuck with the original plan, buddy. Okay. So you don't have to be afraid of Republican men, of Christian men, all that stuff. Clearly, you do not live in Texas. Who you need to be afraid of is the women that are in those bathrooms. If you're in a Texas bathroom and you come across a Texas woman, you're getting put on the ground, my friend. You don't have to be afraid of we don't even have to mess with you. We'll just let the women handle you, bro. They will throw you around like a rag doll. Try to walk into one of those bathrooms, bro. See what happens. A man will watch that and just be like, man, I feel so bad for that. They, them, that, whatever that is. Feel so bad for him. He's not going to make it out in one piece. I can guarantee you. Those Texas women will eat him alive. What do you think about that? You see that walking into your bathroom. What are you doing?
I'm going to a different bathroom. I'm just going to be like, it's
Miss
fine.
Non-confrontational
It's
over
fine.
here.
I will find the other restroom. But I just, again, it's, for me, there's just so much confusion. So much confusion that I can't even follow. Like, I'm still stuck on, if you're transgender but then you're a lesbian, then I'm really confused, because then wouldn't you be attracted to a woman, which is what you originally were?
I don't know.
Right?
It's like
if you're a transgender who's now a lesbian, then you are attracted to women. So that's where I'm stuck. We've that was the original plan.
We left the realm of logic and reason a long time ago.
No, we're not going into the bathroom together. But
bye,
go
buddy.
ahead.
Go
we
ahead.
Want you to relieve yourself. We don't want you to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, just see what happens to you, buddy.
Yeah,
that'll be freaking
It's
hilarious. volcano do to you, man? Why is everybody just yelling at this poor, hopeless volcano? Oh, volcano probably hasn't done anything to anybody in hundreds of years. You're just yelling at it for no reason. Man, where are the environmentalists when this kind of stuff happens? This is verbal abuse of an innocent volcano, and we're just going to let this happen? What's going on with you guys? Jeez. You have anything to say about what we just saw?
Well, I mean, that's one way of trying to process your limiting beliefs. That's one option I've never thought of, is yelling into a volcano with my soul family. I have not, on a full moon actually as well. So it's just all of the important components.
Well, how do you know it doesn't work then if you've never done it?
I've never tried this. And so, I mean, maybe this is what's missing in my life for me to go to the next level. And I just haven't tapped into that. But all this made me think about was the scripture that in the New Testament that talks about that if we don't worship, that even the rocks would cry out. Like, I just think about, they think that they're, releasing some sort of a limiting belief, but that volcano is using this moment to cry out in worship. Like, you may be yelling all kinds of abusive whatever ick onto me right now, but all I am doing.
What do you think the volcano's saying? Is it saying,
like,
"Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do"?
That's what I keep thinking of, is that this is. I mean, maybe I haven't tried this.
This is just my theory of how I would get rid of deep limiting beliefs, whatever the heck those are. Maybe try getting a job, or going to school, or having a family, having a kid, and then you look in the mirror and you think, wow, I've done some things that have been kind of productive for the future. Some things that maybe will outlive me when I'm gone, and maybe you might even be a little bit proud of yourself if you do something productive. But we can also just yell at volcanoes.
And
poor
we
innocent
just
volcanoes.
Don't know the value of this yet. On a full moon with our soul family, all of the pieces, Branson, are really going to help make this.
I am going to
disappear.
Formulate right here, right now, the VRA.
Oh yeah.
Volcanoes Rights Activism.
Do it.
Movement. VRAM. It's a thing now.
It's a thing.
Oh my goodness. Hold on. Hold on one sec. So this is what we're going to be doing today.
Okay.
Denomination most likely to.
Okay.
And if you note at the bottom, it says a please don't take this personally production. So please do not take this personally. We're going to get started though.
Okay.
So this pretty simple game here, right? You're just going to look at the denomination, or not look at the denomination, look at the prompt.
Okay.
And then decide what denomination you think is most likely to fit said prompt.
Oh, good. So we can just offend all of them.
Yes.
One
Everybody needs to get the smoke here. All right. Starting off here.
Church
Denomination
of Christ.
most likely to not show a single ounce of body language during worship.
Yes, definitely Church
You say
of Christ.
The Baptists don't get any love here?
I'm going with Church of Christ. That's my upbringing.
Really? The First Baptists get no. What about Presbyterians?
I'm going
No
with
smoke.
my experience of being in the Church of Christ.
All right, all
I'm
right.
going to stick with that.
We're going Church of Christ.
There was no body language. I remember being in my late 20s and finally going to a very large Church of Christ before I ever dared raise my hands in worship.
Yeah.
So
It's
I'm going
almost
with
like
Church
a
of Christ.
challenge. Like you'll see people
Don't do
more
it, just-
still during
yes.
worship than they are just standing around for no reason.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next one. Denomination most likely to take communion like a shot. Throwing it back.
I feel like
right?
we should go
Hitting
with,
it on the pew first. Boom. Who's doing it?
I have specific people that I know. that do this. I'm gonna go with the Catholics because they actually get real
The
wine.
Catholics do on it.
They get
to be
actual
fair.
alcohol.
They would probably own that. They'd be like, of course I take it. How else am I
Good,
supposed
yeah.
to take it? Are you
And,
not supposed
and
to?
if you're the priest, like you just get to keep
Yeah.
drinking for different things that
I
I don't
think-
understand, but I'm sure it's cool.
I think to them it's backwards. I think it's like, no, people take shots like we take communion. It's not that we
Yes.
take. It's the other way
It's the other
around.
way around.
They invented the shot
I'm
taking.
gonna go with the fact that they have the real stuff and we have grape juice.
There we go. Okay. Very
Mm-hmm.
cool. Very cool. Denomination most likely to publicly rebuke someone on Facebook for saying heck in a post. Who's doing it?
I'm gonna go with the First Baptist. And it has to be the First Baptist.
Yeah, no, Southern Baptists are chill. We can rock
We're
with
gonna
Southern
go with First
Baptist.
Baptist.
The First Baptist. And by the way, I think we should disclose I don't really prescribe to denominations, so I'm not picking sides
we
here.
don't.
I don't care. Anybody can
He's
get
just
it.
been me out here on the rope, so to get hung. I'm just making it up as we go.
Well,
but
you're the
that's what
guest,
I'm gonna
you know?
go with
You're the
that.
guest.
Yeah.
All right, this is one of the last ones.
Oh.
Most likely to
Wow.
start a cult in the middle of the desert.
Well, I've been in that cult, so
So who was it? What denomination was it?
they actually came out of, what was that movement? The shepherding movement.
Oh, right.
So wherever the shepherding movement started was probably the Church of Christ. I had my guess. I'm just
Are
kidding.
you my
Are
spiritual
you my
father?
spiritual father? Yeah, we Branson. Yeah, that was personal experience right there. We were definitely in the middle.
We
of
were
the
in the
desert
middle
a
of.
lot.
That was the first
Lot
time I
of
saw a
RVs.
tarantula.
There you go. Yeah, and again, I just disclaimer. I didn't know it was a cult when we started. Okay,
Let's be real. There were bongos involved. If there's bongos involved,
bongos?
there
I
were
remember
bongos.
bongos.
Remember the bongos? There was maybe
don't.
that was just us bringing the bongos.
I don't know.
I had some bongos.
Did
I would
you
bring
really?
them. Yeah, I would bring the bongos to the desert. I thought that's what you
Yeah,
did. Maybe I just knew that this was a cult, and I was instinctively
You're
like,
like,
I'm gonna bring
"I'm gonna
bongos
bring
because that's what you
bongos."
do with a goat. Bongos or a djembe, you got to bring one of the two.
What I will say on this one is if you have been in a cult or you feel like you might be in a cult and you want to reach out to me for some help, I definitely help people who have that experience just to recover and get back your relationship with God.
That could be a whole wing of Carrie Grace
Yeah.
Consulting.
Yeah. Post-cult trauma.
Just totally random, right?
Uh-huh.
Denomination most likely to try to perform the Heimlich
These
maneuver
are so personal, okay?
to cast out a
Freaking-
demon.
It was me, all right? I didn't know.
It was me.
Golly.
That's
You
so
are
awesome.
sabotaging me. I didn't know, okay? I did not know that this girl at camp had a demon, all right? I didn't know. I thought she was choking on a piece of gum, okay? I just couldn't understand what I was seeing.
She tried to perform the
I
Heimlich
was
maneuver
like,
on a
are you
demon.
choking on a piece of gum? Because I know the Heimlich. And she was like not blinking at all and
Yeah.
growling at me. And I was like, I don't
Dinah?
think that's
Did
her.
you choke on your gum?
We need help.
And then what did it was a fireman who's
Yeah, that was
trained in the
like the-
Heimlich. Did he do the Heimlich?
No.
What'd he do?
No, he just straight up looked at that demon and said, "Shut up." And all of a sudden, she just stopped all of the growling and the non-blinking stuff. And he just took authority. I didn't even know that you could just tell a demon to shut up. Like that was, I didn't even know
Yeah.
that there were demons. So let's just start with that. I was like, you're probably choking on gum. That's all I can make sense of this situation. But, if y'all want to be also trained in how to perform the Heimlich on a demon, I'm here for that too.
There we go. She's just diversifying.
Man,
all
I feel
sorts of-
like my entire walk with the Lord is being completely
no,
just sabotaged right now on this question. Oh
this
my.
last one has nothing to do with you, all right?
okay.
Denomination most likely to go clubbing every single weekend because, quote unquote,
Yeah.
Jesus hung out with sinners and tax collectors.
I'm going to go with the non-denominational.
Yep, non-denominational. You guys got this vote finally.
Yeah, I'm going with the non-denominational on that. We don't want to be closely associated. We
Yep.
want to be loosely associated. so-
Loosely. They would have been the ones, like, if they were in Peter's position, they would have been like, I mean, I follow him on Instagram, but, like, I don't know him, like, I'll like a post every once in a while, but, we're chill.
It's all good. It's all good.
Okay, well, you survived
Oh my.
your first episode of Just for Funsies. Yeah!
Oh my gosh. I'm going to have a lot of hate after this one.
Anybody that wants to come on my podcast, I promise this isn't the usual thing. It's just I was coming up with these this morning, and I was like, I need
Yeah.
the Heimlich one in there. It's just
Oh my
so
gosh.
good.
It
Okay.
is definitely my husband's favorite story about me that I tried to perform the Heimlich on
Yep.
the demon.
Yep.
Well, nobody trained me in that, okay? I didn't know.
Just
Maybe it would work.
like maybe yelling at the
knows?
volcano would work. You never know till you
I
try.
feel completely discredited as a Christian today.
Okay, well, thankfully, that's all that we have. We're clocking out. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.